Commander Elijah Grant stood at the viewport of the Earth Defense Force station and watched the alien ship approach. It was massive, at least 20 times larger than anything humans had ever built. The vessel shimmered with a pearly light that made it look more like art than a spacecraft. "They're hailing us again," said Communications Officer Peter Wells. His voice was steady, but his fingers tapped nervously on his console. Grant nodded. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing a being with smooth blue skin and large silver eyes. This was the third time Grant had seen one of the aliens, but the sight still made his heart beat faster. "Commander Grant," the alien said in perfect English, "this is Ambassador Valen of the Galactic Confederation. We request permission to send a diplomatic party to your orbital station." Grant kept his face neutral. "Ambassador, as I've told your colleagues, any meetings must be approved by Earth's United Council. We're still waiting for their decision." The alien smiled. At least, Grant thought it was a smile. "Of course, Commander. We understand your caution. The discovery of a new spacefaring species is always a delicate matter. We will maintain position and await your council's decision." The screen went dark. Grant turned to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Carol Bishop. "What do you think?" Bishop frowned. "They're being very patient, almost too patient." "My thoughts. Exactly," Grant said. "No demands, no threats, just waiting." "Maybe they're just nice," Wells offered. Grant shook his head. "Nobody crosses the stars just to be nice." In New Geneva, Ambassador Lisa Monroe hurried through the halls of the United Council building. Staff members and officials stepped aside as she passed, recognizing the determination on her face. She entered the main chamber without slowing down. The 12 council members were already seated at the circular table, arguing among themselves. "We can't just ignore them," Council Member Rodriguez was saying. "They have technology centuries beyond ours, which is exactly why we should be cautious." Council Member Patel replied. "If they wanted to, they could wipe us out without effort." Monroe cleared her throat. The room fell silent. "The Confederation representatives have requested a face-to-face meeting for the 5th time," she said. "Commander Grant reports that 3 more of their ships have entered our solar system." Council Leader Diane Chen folded her hands. "And your recommendation, Ambassador Monroe?" "We meet with them," Monroe said firmly, "but on our terms. I should lead a small team to their ship first before we invite them to Earth." Murmurs filled the room. Chen raised a hand for silence. "Are you volunteering for this mission, Ambassador? Understanding the risks?" Monroe nodded. "I am." "Very well," Chen said after a moment. "Select your team. You leave tomorrow." Captain Daniel Holt guided the shuttle toward the enormous alien vessel. Next to him, Ambassador Monroe stared at the approaching ship with wonder in her eyes. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Holt grunted. "Pretty packaging doesn't tell you what's inside." Monroe smiled. "That's why we're here to find out, Captain." Behind them sat Dr. Alan Wright, Earth's leading physicist, and 2 security officers. No one spoke as their small shuttle was swallowed by the massive docking bay of the alien craft. When they stepped out, they were greeted by a group of different alien species. The blue-skinned being in the center stepped forward. "Ambassador Monroe, I am Valen. Welcome to the Harmony of Stars." Monroe bowed slightly. "Thank you for your invitation, Ambassador Valen." The alien waved a long-fingered hand. "Please follow me. The Council is eager to meet you." They walked through corridors that seemed to glow from within. The ceilings were impossibly high, and the architecture was unlike anything on Earth. Curves and angles that somehow worked together in perfect harmony. "Our Confederation includes 27 species from 18 star systems," Valen explained as they walked. "We have enjoyed peace for over 1,000 years." "That's impressive," Monroe said. "Earth has only recently achieved global unity after centuries of conflict." Valen's silver eyes flickered. "Yes, we know. We've been observing your world for some time." Captain Holt frowned but said nothing. They entered a vast chamber where beings of various shapes, sizes, and colors sat in tiered seating. At the center was a raised platform with 7 seats, only 4 of which were occupied. The Supreme Council, Valen said softly. The highest authority in the Confederation. One of the counselors, a tall being with feathery red growths instead of hair, stood. Ambassador Monroe of Earth, I am High Counselor Teg. We welcome you and your species to the galactic community. Monroe stepped forward. High Counselor, we thank you for your welcome. Earth is eager to learn about our galactic neighbors. Teg nodded. And we are eager to help you. Your species has great potential, though you are still young. Dr. Wright whispered something to Monroe, who nodded slightly. High Counselor, she said, we appreciate your assessment of our development. However, we consider ourselves a sovereign world, capable of determining our own path forward. A subtle tension filled the room. Teg's expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. Of course, Ambassador, all worlds in the Confederation maintain their sovereignty within the framework of our laws. And what exactly are those laws? Holt asked, speaking for the first time. Valen answered, protection of all sentient life, sustainable use of resources, controlled technological advancement, and above all, peace. Controlled by whom? Dr. Wright asked. By those with the wisdom to prevent catastrophe, another counselor said. This one had green, scaled skin and no visible eyes. Young species often develop technology faster than their wisdom grows. The results can be unfortunate. Monroe kept her diplomatic smile in place. We would be interested in learning more about your laws. Perhaps we could review them in detail? Of course, Teg said smoothly. We will provide access to our public archives. For now, let us celebrate this historic meeting. A banquet has been prepared in your honor. Later, while the Earth delegation was being given a tour of the ship, Monroe managed to slip away with the help of Captain Holt. They had 15 minutes at most before they would be missed. This way, Holt whispered, pointing down a corridor that was strangely empty. Monroe followed him to a terminal Dr. Wright had identified earlier. Can you access it? Holt nodded, pulling out a small device Wright had given him. If their system works like Wright thinks it does, this should give us temporary access. The terminal flickered to life. Holt worked quickly, following Wright's instructions to search for information about Earth. There, Monroe said suddenly. That file, open it. Holt tapped the screen. Text in an alien language appeared, automatically translating to English as they watched. Monroe's face grew pale as she read. My God, she whispered. The file contained detailed plans for Earth's integration into the Confederation. Not as equals, but as a protected world, essentially a colony. The plans included resource allocation, population control, and cultural adjustment programs. They never intended to treat us as equals, Holt said grimly. We're just another primitive world, to be managed. Monroe's hands shook as she copied the files to Wright's device. We need to get this back to Earth. Now. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Holt quickly shut down the terminal. Ambassador Monroe? Valen's voice called out. Are you there? Monroe took a deep breath, composing herself before stepping into view. Yes, Ambassador Valen. Captain Holt was just showing me some of your amazing architecture. I got a bit turned around. Valen's silver eyes seemed to look right through her. I see. The banquet is ready. Please join us. As they walked back, Monroe's mind raced. Somehow they needed to get back to their shuttle and return to Earth with this information. The future of their world depended on it. And somewhere deep, inside a part of her already knew, this would not end with diplomacy. Ambassador Lisa Monroe stood before the United Council, her face grim. The chamber was silent as the council members studied the files she had brought back from the alien ship. There can be no doubt, she said. The Galactic Confederation views us as primitives. They plan to slowly take control of Earth while making us think we're being helped. Council Leader Chen's normally calm face showed rare anger. They speak of peace while planning conquest. What are our options? Asked Council Member Rodriguez. General Samantha Perry, head of Earth's combined military forces, stepped forward. Her uniform was crisp, her posture perfect, but worry lines creased her forehead. "Militarily, we're no match for them," she said bluntly. "Their ships have technology we can barely understand. A direct confrontation would be suicide." "So we surrender?" Councilmember Patel asked, his voice bitter. "No," said a new voice from the back of the room. "We innovate." All heads turned to see Dr. Alan Wright walking toward the center of the chamber. The physicist looked tired after the journey to the alien ship, but his eyes burned with intensity. "Dr. Wright, you have the floor," said Chen. Wright nodded. "For years, my team and I have been developing theories about space-time manipulation. The scientific community called us dreamers." He smiled thinly. "But after seeing the Confederation technology, I know we were on the right track. We just need time and resources." "How much time?" Perry asked. 1 year, maybe less with the right people and full funding." Chen looked around the room. "Votes?" Every hand went up. "Dr. Wright, you have whatever you need," Chen said. "General, Perry, you'll work with him." Perry nodded. "I already have some ideas about that." 3 months later, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Eric Collins stared at the complex equations covering the digital whiteboard. At 28, he was the youngest engineer on Dr. Wright's team, but his unconventional ideas had earned him respect. "It won't work," he said finally. "The energy requirements are too high." Dr. Wright rubbed his tired eyes. "Then we need to approach it differently." "What if," Collins said slowly, "instead of trying to move through space faster, we move less space?" Wright frowned. "Explain." Collins stepped up to the board and began writing a new equation. "Instead of accelerating the ship, we contract the space in front of it and expand the space behind it." Wright stared at the equation, his eyes widening. "That's brilliant, Eric. Completely different from what the Confederation is doing." A slow smile spread across Collins's face. "And they'll never see it coming." General Perry walked through the underground hangar, her footsteps echoing on the metal floor. Around her, hundreds of workers assembled the frame of what would become Earth's first true warship. "How's progress?" she asked the site supervisor. "On schedule, General. The hull will be complete by next week." Perry nodded, satisfaction warming her chest. Similar scenes were playing out in hidden facilities around the world and in the asteroid belt. The Confederation observers in orbit saw nothing unusual, just routine mining operations and normal space station maintenance. Her secure phone buzzed. The caller ID showed it was from Wright's lab. "Perry," she answered. "General, it's Wright. We did it. The displacement drive works." Perry closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself a moment of pure relief. "I'm on my way." On the far side of the moon, hidden from both Earth and the watching Confederation ships, the first test vessel hung in space. It was small, barely larger than a shuttle, but it represented humanity's greatest achievement. Inside the ship, test pilot Ryan Foster felt a bead of sweat roll down his temple. "All systems ready," he reported. "Remember," Dr. Wright's voice came through his headset. "The displacement field should form a bubble around the ship. You'll feel nothing inside." "That's reassuring," Foster said dryly. "Beginning test in 3, 2, 1. He pressed the activation switch. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then he looked at the navigation display and gasped. "Doc, I'm past Jupiter." The trip took 9 seconds. Over the comm channel, he heard cheers erupt in the control room. "How does it feel to make history, Captain Foster?" General Perry asked. Foster looked out at the distant sun, now just a bright star. "It feels like humanity just got a fighting chance, ma'am." 6 months after the meeting with the Confederation, Ambassador Frank Miller smiled politely as hi. Counselor Tegg outlined the latest assistance program for Earth. "These technology transfers will help your agricultural production," Tegg was saying, "though of course some limitations are necessary for a developing world." "We understand," Miller said, his expression humble. "Earth is grateful for the Confederation's Guidance. Behind his compliant facade, Miller noted every detail of the meeting. The Confederation believed Earth was falling in line, accepting its role as a protected world. They had no idea what was happening in secret. As soon as he returned to his quarters, Miller composed an encrypted message to General Perry. They suspect nothing. Continue Operation Shadow. Major Olivia Reeves checked her oxygen level one more time before slipping out of the maintenance airlock. The Confederation outpost on Europa was minimally staffed. The aliens didn't expect trouble so far from Earth. I'm in position, she whispered into her comm unit. Copy that, replied Kyle Donovan from their hidden ship. Security systems are looped. You have 20 minutes. Reeves moved silently across the moon's icy surface toward the communications array. Her specialized suit made her nearly invisible against the frozen landscape. Inside the facility, she quickly located the main computer terminal. Following Donovan's instructions, she attached a small device to the system. Connection established, Donovan reported in her ear. Downloading their communication protocols now. Reeves kept watch, her pulse steady despite the danger. If they were caught, Earth's rebellion would be exposed before it could begin. 60%, Donovan updated. 70, 80. A light flashed in the corridor outside the room. Someone's coming, Reeves whispered. 95%, just a few more seconds. The door began to slide open. Done, Donovan said. Get out of there. Reeves disconnected the device and slipped behind a large server bank, just as a blue-skinned Confederation technician entered. The alien paused, looking around as if sensing something wrong, then moved to check a display panel. Reeves didn't breathe until the technician left. As soon as the door closed, she made her way back to the airlock. Mission accomplished. She reported once safely back on their ship. What did we get? Donovan's grin was fierce as his fingers flew over his keyboard. Everything. Their entire encryption system, communication protocols, fleet movements. He looked up at her, eyes bright with excitement. Major, we can now listen to everything they say. Reeves allowed herself a small smile. Let's head home. Earth will want to hear this. In the hidden command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Perry studied the holographic display showing the growing Earth fleet. 50 warships nearly complete, another 100 smaller vessels already operational. The displacement drives are functioning perfectly, Wright reported, and Collins' weapons designs are unlike anything the Confederation has seen before. Perry nodded. How long until the fleet is ready? 3 more weeks, Wright answered, assuming nothing goes wrong. The general's secure line buzzed. Perry, she answered. General, came a tense voice. This is Commander Grant at Lunar Outpost 6. A Confederation inspection vessel just requested permission to examine our facility. Perry's blood ran cold. Lunar Outpost 6 was the cover for one of their largest shipyards. Stall them, she ordered. I'll contact Ambassador Miller. She ended the call and looked at Wright. We may have just run out of time. Wright's face was grim. The fleet isn't ready. It will have to be, Perry said, reaching for the red communication terminal that would alert all hidden bases. Tell Admiral Porter to prepare for launch. Operation Twilight begins now. On the screens around them, signals flashed as Earth's secret armada powered up their engines. The time for hiding was over. The Confederation inspection vessel approached Lunar Outpost 6 with steady speed. On its bridge, Inspector Zolan watched the human facility grow larger on the view screen. Something about the recent reports from this sector had caught his attention. The mining output numbers were correct, but the energy usage was unusually high. We are being hailed, his assistant reported. On screen, Zolan ordered. A human appeared on the display. Confederation vessel, this is Commander Lewis of Lunar Outpost 6. How may we assist you? Zolan noted the slight delay before the human responded. Commander, this is Inspector Zolan. We are conducting routine checks of facilities in this sector. Prepare for our arrival in 20 minutes. We would be happy to welcome you, Commander Lewis said with a stiff smile. However, we are currently handling some technical difficulties with our docking systems. We request a delay of 3 hours. Zolan's suspicion grew stronger. Technical difficulties? Your last report mentioned no such issues. It's a recent development, Lewis explained. Safety protocols require— We will dock manually, Zolan interrupted. Prepare to receive us in 20 minutes as ordered. The human's face showed brief panic before he controlled it. Understood. Lewis out. As the screen went dark, Zolan turned to his security team. Full alert status. I believe we may have found something interesting. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Commander Lewis slammed his hand on the emergency alert button. Red lights flashed throughout the hidden shipyard. Evacuation Protocol Alpha, he shouted. We have 20 minutes. Workers rushed to their stations. The massive hangar, carved into the moon's interior, burst into frantic activity. 5 nearly completed warships sat in their construction cradles. There was no way to hide them. Lewis grabbed his secure comm. General Perry, this is Lewis. We've been compromised. Confederation Inspector is docking in 20 minutes. Perry's voice was calm despite the crisis. Can you evacuate the ships? The 2 smaller vessels can launch. The other 3 aren't ready. Launch what you can. Destroy the rest. No Confederation. Inspector can be allowed to report what they see. Lewis swallowed hard. Understood. He turned to his second-in-command. Get the Defiance and the Guardian ready for immediate launch. Set demolition charges on the other ships and throughout the facility. As the crews rushed to follow orders, Lewis watched years of work being prepared for destruction. But there was no choice. If the Confederation learned of Earth's secret fleet before they were ready, everything would be lost. In Earth's hidden command center, General Perry addressed the emergency council session via secure video link. The Lunar Outpost 6 situation has forced our hand, she reported. We must activate the fleet now. Council leader Chen's face was grim. How many ships are ready? 43 warships with full displacement drive capabilities. Another 78 smaller vessels. It's only about 60% of what we planned, but it will have to be enough. Admiral Jane Porter stepped into view beside Perry. Her uniform was new, the first admiral's uniform of Earth's Space Navy. My crews are ready, Porter said confidently. They've been training in simulators for months. The ships we have are more advanced than anything the Confederation has seen. And our intelligence advantage? Chen asked. Kyle Donovan appeared on a separate screen. We've cracked their entire communications network. We know the location of every Confederation ship in the solar system. More importantly, we know they're gathering for their Human Integration Day ceremony near Jupiter. Their guard will be down. Chen looked at each face on her display, then at the council members around her. It appears we have no choice but to act now. All in favor of authorizing Operation Twilight? Every hand raised. Admiral Porter, Chen said formally, you are authorized to deploy Earth's fleet. May God be with you all. Inspector Zolan stepped through the airlock into Lunar Outpost 6, his security team close behind. The facility seemed strangely quiet. Where is everyone? His assistant whispered. Commander Lewis met them with a small group of staff. His smile was pleasant, but sweat beaded on his forehead. Welcome, Inspector. We apologize for the delay. Most of our personnel are working on the docking system repairs. I wish to see your main operations center, Zolan said. Of course. This way, please. As they walked through the corridors, Zolan noticed subtle signs of recent activity. Equipment moved hastily, doors left slightly ajar. His hand moved closer to his weapon. They entered the operations center, which was staffed by a minimal crew. Lewis gestured to the displays showing mining operations and resource processing. As you can see, everything is functioning normally. Our latest shipment of processed— An alarm blared suddenly. One of the human technicians looked up in apparent surprise. Sir, we're detecting multiple engine signatures leaving the far side of the moon. Zolan stepped forward, pushing Lewis aside. Show me. The display changed to show 2 ships accelerating away from the moon. They were like nothing Zolan had ever seen. Sleek, dark vessels with no visible propulsion system. Those are not mining ships, he said coldly, drawing his weapon. You are in violation of Confederation law. This facility is now under... A different alarm sounded, this one more urgent. Thermal buildup detected throughout the facility, a mechanical voice announced. Self-destruct sequence activated. 5 minutes to detonation. Lewis smiled grimly. I'm afraid we'll have to cut this inspection short. Lieutenant Matthew Simmons felt a rush of excitement as his fighter squadron launched from the carrier Defiance. All around him, ships of Earth's hidden fleet were emerging from their secret bases, from the asteroid belt, from Mars' moons, from hidden facilities on Earth itself. All fighters report in, he ordered, his voice steady despite the momentous occasion. One by one, his pilots responded. They were young, like him, but they had trained harder than any pilots in Earth's history. Form up on me, Simmons said. Remember your training. Today, we fight for Earth. His squadron fell into formation as they joined the growing fleet. Ahead, he could see the flagship Humanity, Admiral Porter's command vessel. It was massive, not as large as a Confederation cruiser, but packed with technology that had never been tested in actual combat. This is Admiral Porter to all ships, came the transmission on the fleet-wide channel. The time for hiding is over. Today we show the Confederation that humanity will not surrender its freedom. Our purpose is not destruction, but demonstration. We will disable, not destroy, unless absolutely necessary. Simmons looked out at the fleet gathering around him. Ships of all sizes, built in secret over the past year, now revealed in their full might. The sight filled him with pride. Set course for Jupiter, Porter continued. The Confederation is celebrating what they think is our submission. Let's give them a proper introduction to the real Earth. As one, the fleet activated their displacement drives. Stars blurred around them as they hurtled through space at impossible speed. The journey to Jupiter, which should have taken months, would now take minutes. The element of surprise was on their side. The Confederation's ceremonial fleet would never know what hit them. On the Confederation flagship Eternal Glory, Supreme Leader Zarthal raised his crystalline goblet. To the successful integration of Earth, he announced to the gathered dignitaries, another primitive world brought safely into our embrace. The assembled aliens, representatives of 27 species, raised their various drinking vessels in response. The vast chamber glittered with light reflected from expensive clothes and jewelry. It was the social event of the year. The humans have proven quite cooperative, said High Counselor Teg, sipping his drink. Much more so than we anticipated. They recognize their place, another counselor replied, as all young species should. Zarthal nodded in satisfaction. Beyond the viewport, the ceremonial fleet floated in perfect formation. 200 ships representing the might and majesty of the Galactic Confederation. The ships were beautiful rather than practical. After all, who would dare challenge the Confederation? A junior officer approached hesitantly. Supreme Leader, we've lost contact with Inspector Zolan's vessel. Zarthal frowned. A communications issue, no doubt. Handle it quietly. This is not the time for minor problems. Yes, Supreme Leader. The officer bowed and retreated. Zarthal turned back to his guests, unaware that at that very moment, the stars behind Jupiter were being blotted. Out by the approaching Earth fleet, a dark armada about to announce humanity's refusal to submit. The bridge of the flagship Humanity was silent except for the soft beep of instruments. Admiral Jane Porter stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the tactical display. The Earth fleet had dropped out of displacement drive just behind the moon of Europa, hidden from the Confederation ships gathered near Jupiter. Status report, Porter said quietly. Her executive officer, Commander Richard Hayes, responded instantly. All ships in position, Admiral. Displacement drives cooling, weapon systems online. Porter nodded. And the Confederation fleet? Still in ceremonial formation. Their weapons are powered down. Shields at minimum. They have no idea we're here. Communications. Officer Natalie Garcia looked up from her station. Admiral, I've prepared the broadcast message in all 27 Confederation languages. Porter allowed herself a small smile. Well done, Lieutenant. Are we still intercepting their communications? Yes, Admiral. They're discussing trade agreements for Earth's resources. They're planning to begin mass extraction next month. A cold anger flashed in Porter's eyes. Not if we have anything to say about it. She pressed a button on her command chair. All ships, this is Admiral Porter. Prepare to execute Operation Twilight. Remember your targets and your orders. Disable, don't destroy unless you have no choice. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Lieutenant Simmons, your fighters will launch first. Target their communication arrays. Lieutenant Garcia, prepare to broadcast on my mark. Porter looked around at her crew, men and women who had trained in secret for this moment. For Earth, she said simply. For Earth, they echoed. On the Bite. Confederation flagship Supreme Leader Zarthal was growing irritated. The ceremony had been interrupted by multiple reports of communication outages. Can no one solve a simple technical problem? He snapped at his chief technician. Apologies, Supreme Leader, the technician said nervously. We've lost contact with 6 more outposts, and 3 patrol ships aren't responding. High Counselor. Teg frowned. Is there a pattern to these outages? They seem to be spreading from the direction of Earth, the technician admitted. Teg and Zarthal exchanged troubled looks. Before either could speak, the ship's emergency alarm blared. A security officer rushed in. Supreme Leader, multiple unknown vessels detected. They've appeared all around our fleet. Impossible, Zarthal said. No ships could approach without being detected. The main view screen activated, showing the space around Jupiter. What Zarthal saw made his blood run cold. Dozens of darkly gleaming ships had somehow surrounded the Confederation fleet. They were unlike any vessels he had ever seen. Angular, predatory, and unmistakably built for war. Raise shields. Power weapons, he ordered. The ceremonial fleet isn't equipped with full weapon systems, the security officer reminded him. And the ships can't form a defensive position quickly enough. As if to prove this point, small fighter craft launched from the Earth vessels, streaking toward the Confederation ships with impossible speed. Who are they? One of the counselors asked, voice shaking. The answer came as every communication device in the fleet suddenly activated with the same message. A human woman's face appeared on all screens. This is Admiral Jane Porter of the Earth Defense Force, she said, her voice cool and measured. The people of Earth reject your terms of protection. We are not your colony. We are not your resource cache. We are not your subordinates. Zarthal stared in shock. Humans? But how? Lieutenant Matthew Simmons led his fighter squadron toward the largest Confederation vessel. The massive ship was beautiful, with sweeping lines and glowing blue engines, but it was also completely unprepared for attack. Target their communication arrays and engine controls only, he reminded his pilots. Precision strikes, people. His fighter dove toward the ship, weapons charged. The Confederation vessel belatedly tried to raise shields, but it was too slow. Simmons fired a short, controlled burst. The energy beam struck the ship's main communication array, which exploded in a shower of sparks. All around the Confederation fleet, similar scenes played out. Earth fighters disabled ship after ship with surgical precision. Not one fighter was lost. The ceremonial vessels simply had no effective defenses against such a swift attack. This is almost too easy, Simmons muttered as he banked his fighter around for another pass. His tactical officer, Susan Mason, replied, Their ships are built for show, not combat. Their weapons technology is advanced, but they've had no real wars for centuries. They've forgotten how to fight. Simmons watched as the Earth warships moved into position around the disabled Confederation fleet. Let's hope they remember how to surrender. On the Humanities Bridge, Admiral Porter watched the operation unfold with grim satisfaction. The first phase had gone perfectly. The Confederation fleet was completely neutralized, with minimal damage and no casualties on either side. The Supreme Leader's vessel is hailing us, Garcia reported. On screen, Porter ordered. Zarthal's face appeared, his silver eyes wide with shock and anger. What is the meaning of this outrage? You violate every Confederation law. Porter met his gaze steadily. Laws we never agreed to. Laws you plan to impose on us while stealing our resources and controlling our population. This is madness. You cannot hope to stand against the full might of the Confederation. We just did, Porter said simply. Your ships are disabled. Your communications are cut off. As we speak, similar operations are taking place at every Confederation outpost in our solar system. Zarthal's face paled. What do you want? For now, your surrender. A small Earth team will board your vessel. You will come with them to meet our leadership. And if I refuse? Porter's expression didn't change. Then we'll take you anyway. The choice is yours, Supreme Leader. President William Rogers waited in the secure conference room deep beneath Geneva. Around the table sat the United Council, General Perry, and Dr. Wright. All eyes were fixed on the large screen showing Admiral Porter's transmission. The Supreme Leader has agreed to come, Porter reported. We've secured the Confederation fleet without casualties. Relief washed over Rogers' face. Well done, Admiral. Bring him to the designated coordinates. We'll be ready. As the transmission ended, Council Leader Chen turned to Rogers. What now, Mr. President? We've shown our strength, but we can't hold the entire Confederation at bay forever. Rogers nodded thoughtfully. We don't need to. We just needed to change the conversation. No longer will they dictate terms to us. Now, we negotiate as equals. And if they refuse? General Perry asked. Dr. Susan Carter, the Council's expert on alien cultures, spoke up. The Confederation's power is built on reputation and tradition, not military might. Today we shattered that reputation. Other worlds who chafe under their rule will be watching closely. Rogers stood and walked to the window looking out at the night sky where, invisible to the naked eye, humanity's fleet now stood guard. Then we give them a choice, he said. A new relationship based on mutual respect or a new galactic order without them at its center. I believe they're practical enough to choose wisely. Carter nodded. The Confederation has survived for 1,000 years by avoiding real conflicts. They won't start a war they know they can't win. Let's hope you're right, Rogers said softly, because today everything changes. Across the solar system, Earth's dark ships held position around the disabled alien fleet. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what would happen next in this pivotal moment of human history. The meeting room was silent as Supreme Leader Zarthal was escorted in by Earth security officers. The alien leader moved with dignity despite his situation, his silvery eyes taking in each person seated at the large round table. President William Rogers stood. Supreme Leader, welcome to Earth. I wish our first meeting had come under different circumstances. Zarthal's translator device converted his words to perfect English. Different circumstances indeed, Mr. President. Perhaps ones where your ships had not captured mine. Rogers gestured to an empty chair. Please sit. We have much to discuss. The Supreme Leader sat slowly, looking at the humans gathered around him. Council Leader Chen, General Perry, Admiral Porter, and Dr. Susan Carter watched him with cautious expressions. You have surprised us, Zarthal admitted. No emerging world has ever developed such technology in secret, or shown such boldness. We did what was necessary for our survival, Rogers said. Your plans for Earth were discovered. We knew you intended to treat us as a resource, not as equals. Zarthal's face showed no emotion. The Confederation has brought peace and stability to the galaxy for 1,000 years. Our methods have proven effective. Dr. Carter spoke up. Effective for whom? The founding species? What about the 20 newer members? Do they have equal say in Confederation matters? The Supreme Leader's eyes narrowed slightly. You have studied us well. We had to, General Perry said. You gave us no choice. Rogers leaned forward. Supreme Leader, let's be clear about our position. We do not wish for war. We do not seek to destroy the Confederation. We simply demand recognition as equals, not as a protected species to be managed and exploited. And if we refuse? Zarthal asked. Admiral Porter answered, then we will defend ourselves, and we will share our technology with other worlds who might also wish for greater independence. This threat clearly troubled the Supreme Leader. He was silent for a long moment. "You must understand," he finally said, "that the Confederation Council will not easily accept such demands. Many believe the established order is sacred." "Then perhaps it's time for a new order," Rogers suggested, "one built on mutual respect rather than control." 3 days later, the main council chamber on the Confederation capital world of Luminara was filled with representatives from all 27 member species. The emergency session had been called after news of the Earth incident spread throughout the galaxy. Zarthal stood before them, his usual confidence somewhat diminished. Beside him stood President Rogers, the first human ever to address the full council. "Members of the Galactic Confederation," Zarthal began, "recent events have forced us to reconsider our approach to emerging worlds. Earth has demonstrated capabilities that challenge our traditional methods." Murmurs filled the chamber. High Counselor Teg stood. "Supreme Leader, are you suggesting we reward their aggression? They attacked our ceremonial fleet." "They defended their sovereignty," Zarthal corrected, "which we had planned to quietly take from them." He gestured to Rogers. "I invite Earth's leader to speak." Rogers stepped forward, looking out at the gathered aliens with calm determination. "Distinguished representatives, I come not as a conqueror, but as a voice for change. For too long, the Confederation has divided worlds into classes: the rulers and the ruled. Earth rejects this model." He activated a display showing the document that Dr. Carter had prepared. "We propose a new galactic charter of sovereign rights, one that guarantees equal standing for all worlds regardless of their technological development." The chamber erupted in a mix of outrage and support. Some representatives shouted objections, while others nodded in agreement. Rogers noticed that many of the newer member species seemed most supportive of his proposal. "This is blasphemy," shouted one counselor. "The Confederation has maintained peace for a millennium, through control and deception," countered another. "My world has suffered under these protections for generations." As the debate grew heated, Zarthal raised his hands for silence. "The reality before us cannot be denied. Earth has shown that our current approach is no longer effective. We must adapt or risk greater conflict." Over the next week, negotiations continued. Dr. Carter worked tirelessly with alien scholars who supported reform. The proposed charter went through many revisions, as different worlds added their concerns and hopes. Not everyone embraced change. 7 Confederation species, led by High Counselor Teg, refused to sign the charter and departed to form their own alliance. But to everyone's surprise, 15 more worlds from outside the Confederation requested to join the new agreement after hearing of Earth's stand. On the final day of negotiations, President Rogers and Zarthal stood together on the grand balcony of the council hall. Before them stretched the magnificent capital city, its towering spires gleaming in the light of twin suns. "Your world has changed the galaxy in a single week," Zarthal said quietly. "Some would say for the better, others for worse." Rogers watched as ships from dozens of worlds filled the sky above the city, arriving for the charter signing ceremony. Change is rarely comfortable, but often necessary. "And your fleet? What will become of Earth's Armada now?" "That depends on what happens next," Rogers replied. "We built it for defense. Perhaps now it can serve a greater purpose." Admiral Porter stood on the observation deck of the Humanity, watching as ships from the newly formed Interstellar Alliance gathered around Earth. To her surprise, Zarthal had requested to join her. "Quite a view," the former Supreme Leader commented, looking out at the assembled fleet. "In all my years, I never imagined standing aboard a human warship as an ally." Porter nodded. "Life takes unexpected turns." "Indeed, the Council has accepted my recommendation. The Alliance's peacekeeping force will need experienced leadership." He turned to face her directly. "They have asked for you, Admiral." Porter's eyes widened. "Me? To command the combined fleet?" "You defeated us without destroying a single ship or taking a single life," Zarthal said. "That is exactly the kind of leadership the new Alliance needs." Before Porter could respond, Lieutenant Simmons approached. "Admiral, The ceremonial flyby is ready. All ships report ready for your command. Porter collected herself and nodded. Very well, Lieutenant. Signal all vessels. Formation Delta. Outside, the Earth ships that once hid in the shadows now moved into perfect formation alongside vessels from a dozen worlds. Their hulls gleamed in the sunlight as they prepared to salute the dawn of a new era. On the bridge of every ship, screens displayed the text of the newly signed charter. We, the Sovereign. Worlds united in mutual respect and common purpose. Lieutenant Garcia approached with a message. Admiral, we're receiving congratulations from across the planet. President Rogers reports that the charter has been ratified by 32 worlds already. Porter smiled. Send my thanks, and inform Earth Command that the Alliance fleet stands ready. As the combined fleet began its majestic flight over Earth's major cities, citizens looked up in wonder. The ships that had once darkened the stars in preparation for war now moved in harmony, a symbol of humanity's unexpected journey from hidden rebels to respected leaders in a transformed galaxy. On the observation deck, Porter and Zarthal watched the Earth grow smaller as the fleet ascended to orbit. What happens now? The alien asked. Porter's gaze shifted to the stars beyond. Now we explore together, as equals.